What's up, Mustangs? Miss Titus here, and today we're going to talk about all the different ways we can find slope. We're going to talk about finding slope from a graph, finding slope from an equation, from 2 points, and from a table. But first, let's review what slope is. So go ahead and open up your foldable to the center page. Okay? Slope is our rate of change. Okay? So it's our rate of change. It's the delta y over delta x, the difference between the change in the independent variable and the change in the dependent variable. So let's talk about graphs first. The first thing that we want to talk about is that we already know that slope is delta y over delta x. It's the change in y over the change in x. Well, since the y-axis runs up and down, we call the change in y the rise, the change in x, since the x-axis goes left and right, it's going to be the run. So in a graph, we say that the slope is rise over run. Okay, so the way that we find slope is we pick 2 points and then say how much was the vertical change and how much was the horizontal change. So I'm going to use these 2 points right here. Vertical change goes on top because the y is up and down. So I'd say that my vertical change is 2. Okay? Now, because we read left to right, we graph left to right, we do most things in life left to right, we start on the left side and go to the right side. So was my vertical change to go from left to right, up or down? Well, it went down. It was a downward change of 2. So that's going to be a negative 2. And then my horizontal change is 1, plus 1. Okay? So we're going to say vertical change over horizontal. So my vertical change was a negative 2. My horizontal change was positive 1. And so we want to say that, simplify this fraction, negative 2 divided by 1 equals negative 2. Okay? So that's how we find slope in a graph. Rise over run. Vertical change, delta y, over horizontal change, delta x. And remember, we always read from left to right. So I'll write that down right here. Left to right. Okay? Alright, so let's talk about an equation. Now, we've been talking about equations for a while now. We've had equations for patterns and rules, okay? So, remember, slope is still delta y over delta x, okay? In the equation, y equals mx plus b, this number right here, the m, is our delta y over delta x. The other name we have for this is the coefficient. So all of these terms should be familiar to you because we talked about them when we talked about patterns and rules. So in the equation y equals mx plus b, m is the slope. It's our delta y over delta x, or our coefficient. So when we look at an equation, the way that we determine the slope is you always look for the number in front of x, the number that's being multiplied by x. So here my slope is negative 2. Now this one is not in the right form, but no matter where it is, it's always the coefficient. So we're going to say that 9 is our slope here. Okay, so when we have an equation, our slope is our coefficient of x. Alright, now when we have 2 points, this is very similar to a table. When we have 2 points, we're still looking for our change in y over our change in x. So what's happening in between x and y? So what we're going to do is make a table of our 2 points. 0, negative 5, 2, 1. Okay? So I would say that my delta y from negative 5 to positive 1 is plus 6. My delta x is plus 2. So delta y over delta x is going to be 6 over 2, which simplifies to 3. Okay? So when we have 2 points, it's the change in y and the change in x. And then the last but not least, table. So when we have a table, we don't have to create our own. That's already given to us. So we're just going to find delta y and delta x and then set up that ratio or that rate of change. Okay, from 7 to 3, that's going to be minus 4. From negative 1 to positive 1, that's going to be plus 2. So my delta y over delta x is going to be negative 4 over 2, which simplifies to negative 2. So that would be my rate of change. That's all we have for today on how to find slope. Go ahead and fill out the form and let us know if you have any questions. And as always, staying strong.